Hello again, it's me, Mrs. Boucher. I'm so glad you're back to listen to another story. I hope you're all doing really well. I hope you had a very happy Easter. I sure miss seeing your smiling faces. I am excited to tell you we have a great story again today. And again, I have my Bible here with me. And we are going to learn a story. I'm in the book of Judges, chapter 6 and 7. We're going to learn about a man named Gideon. So we're still talking about the Israelites. Remember, Joshua led the Israelites into the promised land, and God told them if they would just obey his commands that everything would go well with them. But they didn't always obey. And so there was a group of people called the Midianites who were fighting against Israel. They were taking some of their food and their land. And so one day, a man named Gideon, now I know that's a little confusing, Gideon and Midian, because they sound alike, right? They rhyme. Gideon is the man that we're talking about. So Gideon was hiding, trying to get food for his family, but he was hiding from the Midianites, and suddenly the Lord appeared to him and said, "The Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor." And Gideon said to him, "If the Lord is with us, then why has all this happened?" He was confused. If God was with him, why were the Midianites against them? But the Lord said, "The Lord has not given up on you, and I have a plan, and I'm going to use you to free Israel from the Midianites." And Gideon was confused again, and he said, "But how is that going to work? I'm little. I'm not a big, strong warrior. I'm from a little family, a small clan, and I'm the smallest one." And the Lord said to him, "I will be with you." So it doesn't really matter how big Gideon is. What matters is how big and strong God is. And so God said he would be with him. So Gideon said, "Will you wait right here?" And Gideon ran back in the house and he prepared a whole meal and he brought it back out. And see, up until this point, Gideon didn't really know who he was talking to. And suddenly he realized it was God, and he was afraid because he had been talking to God. But the Lord said to him, "Peace be to you. Do not fear." God said to Gideon, "You don't need to be afraid." And so Gideon built an altar there and he worshiped the Lord and he said, "The Lord is peace." And the Lord told him, "The first thing I need you to do is I need you to go break down these altars to a false god named Baal." Now remember in the 10 Commandments that God gave to Moses, that God said, "You shall worship only one God." How many true gods are there? One. That's right. If you said one God, you are right. There is one God, and he is the only God that we are supposed to worship. But they were worshiping Baal. So in the middle of the night, Gideon went and he broke down all the altars to Baal. And when the men woke up in the morning, they were upset and they knew that Gideon had done it. And they said to his dad, "Bring out Gideon. We're mad at him." But Gideon's dad said, "Are you going to fight for Baal? Baal is not the true God. God is the true God." So the Spirit of the Lord was with Gideon. God was with Gideon, and that's how Gideon was able to do what he was able to do. But Gideon was still wanting to know for sure that God was going to do what he said he was going to do. So Gideon said, "Will you show me a sign?" So Gideon took a fleece. Now a fleece is made out of wool from a lamb, from a sheep. And if it gets wet, it can hold a lot of water. It can get really wet. And so Gideon said, "I'm going to lay this down. And in the morning, I want this wool to be wet from dew, but the whole ground around it to be dry." And so God did that for Gideon. Gideon woke up in the morning and he took that fleece, and it was so heavy with water, but the whole ground around it was dry. And he took that fleece and he squeezed it out till water just dripped out of it. And he said to God, please don't be angry, but can we do this one more time? Only tomorrow morning when I wake up, can the fleece be dry and the whole ground around it be wet with dew? And God did exactly that. So then Gideon took a whole army of men with him, and he went and he camped near Midian. But the Lord said to Gideon, the people with you are too many. Your army is too big. I don't want Israel to think that they win the battle because they're big and strong. I want Israel to know that they win the battle because I, God, am big and strong. Was Israel big enough and strong enough? No. But God is big and strong, and he could win the battle. And so the Lord said to Gideon, I want you to go to your army and say to them, if any of you are afraid, you can go home. So that's what Gideon did. He went to his army and he said, whoever's afraid, go ahead and go home. And when they did, 10,000 men were left. Only 10,000. Now, that sounds like a really big number, and it is, but it was not a big army. But the Lord came back to Gideon and he said, there's still too many people. Take them down to the water, and we're going to do a little test. And so I need you to imagine that they go down to the water, and there's this nice clear river brook for them to drink from, and they are thirsty. And God says to Gideon, watch how they drink, because some of the men are going to bend over and hold on to their weapons, and they're going to get water and drink it up and keep an eye out. And other men are going to lay down their weapon, and they're going to get down on their hands and knees just like a puppy dog and drink from the water. So, do you want to pretend to be a puppy dog and drink from the water? Okay, get down on your hands and knees and pretend like you're drinking water like a doggy does out of a dish, right? Bent over, drinking. So that's what they did. Are you drinking like puppy dogs? Yeah? Good job. So God said, everyone who drinks like that, they go home. But the people who held on to their weapon and scooped up the water with their hand, they stayed. And when that was over, there were only 300 men. That's not very many at all. But God said, I'm going to give the Midianite army to you. So, get your people together. Are you ready? But if you're afraid, Gideon, if you're still scared, God knew, didn't he? God knew that Gideon was still a little afraid. So Gideon went down in the middle of the night and listened at the Midianite army. And he heard one of the men saying that he had had a dream. And the other man said, oh, that dream means that God is going to be on Gideon's side. Ooh. Gideon then knew for sure that God was on his side. So then Gideon went back to his army and he said, okay, to his 300 men, only 300 men, okay, we're going to get ready. Now, if you were going to get an army ready, what would you take with you? Maybe some weapons, maybe some swords if you were going to fight. But you know what Gideon told them to get? A trumpet and a jar and a torch. So you know what a trumpet is, right? It's something that you blow, doo, 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 right? And it makes music. And a jar, you probably know what a jar is. This was a jar that you probably couldn't see into. You might be thinking of a glass jar that you can see into. This was like a clay jar that you couldn't see into. And a torch is like a stick with fire on the end, kind of like we would use a flashlight now. So Gideon told them to take those three things: a trumpet, an empty jar, and a torch. That doesn't sound like they're getting ready for a battle, does it? But remember, who's on their side? God. God is on their side. So they took those three things. What were they? Trumpet, empty jar, and a torch. And Gideon said, okay, follow me. And they went and they surrounded the whole Midianite army. And then Gideon said, okay, blow your trumpet and shout, a sword for the Lord and for Gideon. And so they all blew their trumpets. Can you blow your trumpet? Doo, 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 doo. Good job. Doo, 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 doo. Now smash your jar. Can you make a big smashing sound? Good job. And yell, a sword for the Lord and for Gideon. A sword for the Lord and for Gideon. And the Midianites heard this loud noise of all the trumpets blowing and the people shouting, and they saw all those torches, and they looked, and it looked like they were surrounded. And the Midianites got so confused that they started killing each other. And God let Israel win the battle without even having to fight. God won the battle. So tell me, do you think that if you were going to fight in a battle, that you would take those things with you? A trumpet and a jar and a torch? No, you'd probably want to take weapons. But they had something stronger than weapons. What did Israel have? That's right. They had God. If you said they had God on their side, you are right. Who is stronger than any army? God. God is stronger than any army. And God was on their side. And guess who you have on your side? God. You have God on your side. Have a great day.